welcome back to my channel. My name's Alicia if you're new here. If you're not, then welcome back. I've got a little bit of a cold this week and there is crazy work going on outside my house, so that's why I've got the mic with me. But today we're just going to be going through the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. So grab yourself a little cup of tea and we'll go through it. I'm literally just going to go through them as they are stacked. So the first book that I want to read in 2025 is, well, the first out of the pile, not the first, the Crescent City series. So I've got a few in here that are series, so I would say that I want to read the whole series, but you never know whether you're going to like a series until you've read the first book. However, I do think that if I don't like this first book, that I am going to carry on with the series anyway. So this is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. It's part of the Crescent City series. I'm currently reading the Throne of Glass series, or making my way through that slowly. So at some point this year, I do want to try and read the House of Earth and Blood book, and then hopefully I'll like that and continue on the rest of the series. But because I've read ACOTAR and because I'm reading Throne of Glass, I think even if I don't like this book, that I'm just going to carry on the series anyway, because it'd seem a shame to just stop after this one. And I've heard this one can be a bit of a slog, and then the next two books or the next book is better. But anyway, so that's the first one on my list. So next on my list we have A Dawn of Onyx, and this is part of the Sacred Stones series by Kate Golden. The next one is A Promise of Peridot, and I can't remember what the last one is, but this is like a 3-book series. I don't know if she plans on doing any more, but so far there's only 3, I think. So I've wanted to read these for a while. These are classic romantasy books, which is perfect for me, so that's the next one that I want to read. I've heard some quite good things about it. I've not heard anything about the story, but I've heard good reviews on the book, so I'm excited to give that one a go. Next we have Caraval. I go to a book club every month and we've just read Phantasma. Well, I read Phantasma in October, but the book club has just read Phantasma. And a girl that goes to my book club said that Phantasma is essentially Caraval, but for adults, because obviously Caraval is a YA book. So if that's the case, I think I'll really like this book, because I really enjoyed Phantasma, and essentially the girl at the book club described it as Phantasma but in a carnival. So I think I'll really enjoy this book. I have heard a lot of good reviews about it. It's obviously quite a popular book, and I do want to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, but I don't want to read that series before I've read Caraval, because even though they're standalone, I never trust a standalone. I feel like I know it's standalone, but it's kind of interconnected. So I do want to read this one first, and I think it'll just be, I don't see the point. If this is a good series anyway, why wouldn't you read it first? So that's my take on it, and that is the third lot of books. I don't know if you can technically say that's 9 books now, because I'm only doing the one because I don't know if I'll like the book and then might not want to carry on the series, but kind of 3, kind of 9, who knows. There's a bit of a theme here. They all seem to be series. But the next book I want to read is Guild by Raven Kennedy, as a part of the Plated Prisoner series. I've heard such good things about this one, and I really can't wait to get started on it. I've just heard it's got such a good storyline, such a good plot, really good romance in there. So I think it's got a slow burn as well. I'm not too sure. I try not to read too much into it, because if you read too much into it, there's always a risk that you're going to see spoilers. So I haven't heard a lot. I've just heard it's a very good series. So hopefully I'll enjoy it. And I think there's 5 books in that series. So I'm taking on a lot of books this year. The next book I want to read is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I've heard amazing things about this series, and I really can't wait to read it. Although when I found it in Waterstones, it was in the YA section, and then I had a look on the back, and it might have been on Goodreads actually. I might have been looking at the sort of reviews on Goodreads, but they said it was like really, really gory. And I thought, why is this in the YA section? So I don't know if it's YA or whether it's supposed to just be fantasy. But I found it in the YA section, and I'd wanted to read it for a while, so I picked it up anyway. An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Have a little tea break. The next book I want to read is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Yeah, Jennifer L. Armentrout. Again, this is one I've heard that some like it, some don't. Some think it's amazing, some don't. I know there's a series, I don't know if it's before or after. I don't know if it's a prequel series. I don't know if it came out after but it's set before. That might be it. And that's the Flesh and Fire series. And this is a Blood and Ash series. So I do want to read both series, but I'm going to start with this one just because I want to. I haven't really done any research into that. I'm sure people will tell me not to if that's not the recommended way, but yeah, this is another one that I'm really excited to read. As you can see, this whole list is probably going to be romantasy books because that's the genre I like. So if you like that genre, then maybe you can find some recommendations in this. And now we move on to all my hardback books that I'll probably end up buying on Kindle. So the 7th book that I have is Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This one is, I think it's YA romantasy, but it's about dragons, it's got slow burn, it's got romance, it's got tension, it's got yearning, and I'm really excited to read this one. Anything with dragons I will read. I love reading books with dragons in. And I just loved this. This one looks so pretty. I just loved it. I found it on Amazon for like £9 and I thought, yeah, why not? That sounds right up my street. So that's another one I can't wait to read. So the 8th book on my list, I'm not sure if this is considered a romantasy, to be honest. I don't know if it's considered a dark fantasy romance. So would you consider that a dark romantasy? A dark fantasy romance? I don't know if it's considered a horror because it's vampires. I'm not really sure which genre this one fits in. As I said, I don't really research them too much before I buy them. I kind of just go off of vibes and general feeling, but it's A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I've heard really, really good things about this book. I actually got this edition, the Fairy Loot edition, for £10 off Vinted, and it's even got the little card that it came with. It came in the Fairy Loot box, in the Fairy Loot bag with the card and everything, and I got it for £10, which I just thought was crazy. So I'm not sure if this came in like the adult box from Fairy Loot, but I've heard really, really good things about this one. Similarly to dragons, I will also read anything with vampires in it because I absolutely love stuff with vampires, dragons, fae, you know, the whole romantasy, fantasy shebang. I just absolutely love it. But yeah, I've heard really good things about this one and I can't wait to read this one. Number 9 on my list is a book that I've been meaning to read. I think I've had a draft in my TikTok drafts since September of like start a new book with me, and I was going to start this book and then I moved on to a completely different one. I think I read Quicksilver instead because I saw it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I just thought, yeah, I'll read Quicksilver instead. But this next one is Lightlark. I really want to read Lightlark. I've been wanting to read the whole series for a while now, like I said, since September, and I just haven't got round to it. And I don't know why. I think it's because it's got such mixed reviews. Some people say it falls flat. Some people say it's like the best book ever. So I suppose the only way to find out is to actually read it for myself. But I don't know why. I've just been putting it off and putting it off. So 2025 is the year that I am going to read the Lightlark series. If you've got any reviews of it or you loved it or whatever, just let me know and I'd love to hear them. Number 10 on my list of books is Tales of a Monstrous Heart by Jennifer Delaney. To be honest, I hadn't heard much about this book, but I loved the cover of it. And I also loved that under the dust jacket it looks like that if you put it on your shelf. So yeah, I just really loved the dust jacket and the underneath of the book. I just thought it was so beautiful, and Tales of a Monstrous Heart, that sounds like a romantasy book. So I picked it up and then I read the back and it says, "What a wicked thing you've done, Cat, to make it so I only dream of you." And I was sold. I was like, absolutely yes. And I think it was £3 off in Waterstones on the day. So I just thought, that's, you're coming home with me, is basically what I thought. I haven't heard much about this one. Again, a sensual gothic feast full of forbidden romance and wild magic. Sign me up, essentially, is what I said. Book number 11 on my list is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Eru, and I saw this book when everyone was getting it in the Fairy Loot box. That beautiful Fairy Loot edition is the one that I first saw, and then I saw Emmy Rossum. I saw her review of it on TikTok, What Emmy Reads, and it just sounded so good. She said there's lots of slow burn, tension, yearning, and it just sounded amazing. So I picked it up, I went to Waterstones, picked it up, and as usual, I have a million other books on my TBR, but I just thought I really do want to make this one a priority because it sounds amazing. So I picked that one up and I want to try and get that read this year, hopefully, because you never know how the year's going to pan out. I've got quite a busy year this year, but hopefully I can get all these books read in between, taking some downtime for myself and all that. So hopefully I am able to get that one read because it just sounds right up my street. And I just love a book with yearning in it. I love, which I think it's why I love romancy, because I love dragons and I love vampires and fae, but I also love. 12, yeah, book number 12 is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. This one, again, I picked up because I absolutely loved the cover. This one is, I think, dark academia from what I can see on the back. But I think it's got like some world building, like quite a big fantasy world. I've heard M.L. Wang is a really good author. Reading a bit of the blurb, it says the first woman ever admitted to a prestigious order of mages unravels a secret conspiracy that could change the practice of magic forever in this standalone dark fantasy from the author of The Sword of Kaigan. Interesting. I heard this is one of those ones where you pick it up and you don't want to put it down, so I'm actually really excited to give this one a go. Obviously I'm really excited for all of them, as I've probably said, but this one I've seen all over TikTok and BookTube, people just giving it 5 stars left, right and centre, so that one again is definitely a big priority for me. Next book, and the last one of my physical copies, is The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. So I already read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and 6 Scorched Roses. I've got Slaying the Vampire Conqueror on pre-order from Waterstones. I know it's available on Kindle Unlimited as well, so I might read it on there. And then I think I'm going to go with this one. I don't know whether to wait a bit closer to August when The Falling Kiss of Dusk comes out, because I know that's the second one to this duet. So I might wait a bit closer to that to read this one, but I've heard so many good things about it. I got the Waterstones signed edition because I absolutely love anything Carissa Broadbent puts out. So I'm really excited to get into Misha's story in this, and I've heard that the male main character is amazing in this, so I'm really excited to get to that one. So those are all the books that I actually have physical copies of. Maybe I can actually drink my cup of tea now. I don't have to keep picking up books. Essentially, the next books that I want to read this year are the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, staying on the Carissa Broadbent sort of train. I want to read the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, and I will insert little pictures of the covers so you know which books I'm talking about, but I've heard nothing but good things about the War of Lost Hearts trilogy. I think they were actually the first books that Carissa Broadbent put out, and I've heard they're just really amazing, so I really want to get into those ones. I know they're available on Kindle Unlimited, so that's probably where I'm going to read them, but I've also seen that they're now being traditionally published, so I don't know whether to go ahead and buy the indie versions first, because I just love the cover of those, and I don't know what the traditionally published ones are going to look like, but equally, if the traditionally published ones are beautiful, I'd be happy with that, and I'm sure they will be, so maybe I'll just wait. The next book I want to read is the Zodiac Academy, The Awakening. So I know there's like 9 books in this series, but I know there's a lot of novellas in this series as well, and I know there's also a prequel series, but for the moment being, I'm just focusing on the Zodiac Academy, the main like bulk of the books. I will probably read the novellas because I've heard they do add to the story, so I will probably read the novellas as well, but I do want to read the whole series. Again, I've heard mixed reviews on the Zodiac Academy. Some people like bully romance, some people don't. Personally, I don't think I've ever read any bully romance, so I'm going to give it a go and see what it's like. Who knows? I might love it, I might hate it, but you don't know until you try, do you? The next book I want to read, which I think is number 16, is Fairytale by Veronica Lancet. This one is quite a chunky book, but I've also heard that it's absolutely amazing. I think some people said it's a bit too long, but I've heard some people say it's not long enough, so I'd be very interested to read that one because I'm not put off by a book that's quite large, but if it keeps you invested, but at the same time, I am a slow reader, so they do take me a while, so I think that's why I've been putting it off. But we'll see when I get to that one. I might read that one whilst I'm on my honeymoon because I'll have a lot of time then. So that would make more sense to read a bigger book whilst I'm away. I think it'll be a nice book to read. Maybe. I don't really know much about it. I'm sure someone will tell me different if it's not. Book number 17 that I want to read this year is Gothicana by Runix. So I've seen this book floating around a few places and I've wanted to read it for a while. I do have it on my shelf actually. I just didn't bring it over because I didn't want my shelf to look bare in the background. So I've heard that this one's about a professor and a student sort of situation, and I've heard it can be quite spicy in places, but you know, I do not fear the spice, so that should be fine. I've heard mixed reviews on it again, but as always, I will judge a book when I'm reading it, I suppose, and I can't wait to read that one because I have heard the reviews that I have seen really, really good reviews for it, but then some reviews are really bad, so I suppose I'll just judge it myself when I come to read it. Are a couple of books as well that I have on pre-order that I want to read. So number 18, I suppose, would be The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I've read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, and they were like some of my top reads of 2024. I absolutely love Rachel Gillig's writing style, and I'm really excited to get into The Night and the Moth. I've seen a lot of people have sort of received it as like an arc, and I've seen a lot of good reviews coming from that, so I literally can't wait to read that. I pre-ordered it in September, and then the special edition got announced like this last week, so I cancelled my pre-order and pre-ordered the special edition, because if a special edition can be hard, then I will be buying it. So yeah, I can't wait to read that one. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit here, and books 18 and 19 are The Dawn of the Cursed Queen and Wrath of the Fallen by Amber V. Nicole. So I've read the Book of Azrael and I've read The Throne of Broken Gods, but I haven't yet read The Dawn of the Cursed Queen. I was waiting again until closer to August when The Wrath of the Fallen comes out because I didn't want too long of a gap between them. So 18 and 19 are the two books that I want to read from that series, and I think Wrath of the Fallen comes out around like the 5th of August, so I might read Dawn of the Cursed Queen maybe like May, June, that sort of area, but we'll see. But I absolutely love the Book of Azrael, absolutely love Throne of Broken Gods. Actually, I love the Throne of Broken Gods even more than the Book of Azrael, but the Book of Azrael was brilliant as well, so I'm really, really excited to get into those two. Two books that I've had on my bookshelf for quite a while, but like I said, I don't want my bookshelf to be looking bare in the background, so that's why they're not here with me, are by Mary E. Pearson, and it's The Vow of Thieves and Dance of Thieves. So this, I suppose, would be 19 and 20. So it's Vow of Thieves and Dance of Thieves. I've heard these are, I'm not sure if they're YA, but I've heard they're romantasy and I've heard they're like amazing. I don't see much about them anymore, but I think they might have been on BookTok sort of a few years ago, like really popular on BookTok. I only joined BookTok in 2024, so I've only seen like, you know, the basic ACOTAR, Fourth Wing, all that sort of jazz, Quicksilver, Phantasma. I'm that sort of era of BookTok, but I've heard those two books are amazing. I've had them since I think last July and I've just never picked them up, but I've seen some really, really good reviews for them, so I am quite excited to finally get those ones read. I've just heard nothing but good things about them, so yeah, those ones will be exciting to read. Another book that I've got on pre-order this year is Brimstone by Callie Hart. That one comes out in November. Sorry, as soon as I said November, then my brain started turning because we've just booked a Disney holiday for November, and I thought, oh my god, am I going to be away when that gets delivered? But no, I think it comes out on the 18th of November and we come back on the 14th, so all good, panic over. So yeah, Brimstone by Callie Hart, and it's the second book to Quicksilver, so the second book in the Fae and Alchemy series. I literally cannot wait. I absolutely loved Quicksilver, and the way it ended, I can't wait to see where Callie has taken it in this new book. So can't wait for that one, even though we've got a while to wait, but I'm sure it'll be so worth it. Oh, I was going through my pre-orders in order that they're coming out, but I've forgotten two. So number 22 will be Fearless by Lauren Roberts. That comes out on the 8th of April, and that's the third book in... I was doing that because it's the fourth book, but it's actually the third because one's a novella. So it's the third book in the Powerless series. There's Powerless, Powerful, Reckless, and then Fearless. Powerful is the novella, so that's kind of like a 1.5. It's not really a full book. I really, really liked Powerless, and I absolutely loved Powerful because I feel like that one was just a bit more emotional, and it literally was gut-wrenching. I cried so much at that one. Reckless kind of fell flat for me. I felt like it was a lot of hunting and chasing and talking, and the plot wasn't moving on very much. They were literally just hunting each other. The plot, it wasn't for any reason. Like, you know, in... I'm going to try and do it without a spoiler, but you know, in Onyx Storm, where there's, some would say, not a lot going on, but there's still world building when they're going to all these different places. There's still world building, there's still plot movement, there's still things going on. It just it's taken a long time. But I feel like in Reckless there was none of that. They were literally just in the same place chasing after each other. So I'm hoping that with Fearless it's more like Powerless and more things become apparent or come to light. So that's what I'm hoping for Fearless. So I do have that one on pre-order, although I might cancel it because... not because I don't want it, because I do want it, but I've pre-ordered the hardback from Waterstones, and I have all 3 paperbacks from the works with the sprayed edges, so I might wait and see if the works... I'm sure they will. Like, I'm sure they'll release like a sprayed edge version of Fearless like they have with all the other 3 books, so I might cancel my Waterstones pre-order and just wait for the works. I think I just panic because I think, what if I cancel it and then I can't get it from the works? But I literally walked into the works on Onyx Storm release day and picked it up, so it was fine. So I'm sure it'll be fine for Fearless. Number 23 is Enchantra, which is the second book to Phantasma. That also comes out on the 8th of April. I've got so much going on the 8th of April. I've got Fearless coming out, got Enchantra coming out, I've got my wedding makeup trial. It's going to be a busy, lovely day. But that means that my fiance is going to have to stay in the house for my pre-orders. Sorry about that, but I've got places to be. Yeah, number 23 is Enchantra, which follows... so Phantasma followed Ophelia and Blackwell, and Enchantra is going to follow Ophelia's twin Genevieve. Genevieve, and I think their new MMC is called Rowan, so it's going to follow those 2. Apparently he's down bad for her, so I can't wait for that. I love that. And yeah, that was number 23. Book number 24 is Anathema by Kerry Lake. This month in my book club we are reading Nocticadia by Kerry Lake. So if I like Nocticadia, I know they're not connected, but if I like Nocticadia and I like the writing style, I'm going to go on to Anathema. I do think I'll like it because I do quite like dark fantasy romances, so I'm really hoping that this year I'll get round to reading Anathema, and I'm not sure if there's a second book to Anathema or whether it's a standalone, so I'll have to research that, or if someone knows then please tell me. But Anathema has some really, really good reviews, and Kerry Lake's writing has some good reviews, so I can't wait to read that one as well. And finally, number 25 is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. So I've heard this one is a fantasy romance, but it's based in the sort of Norse setting. It's got Vikings in it and stuff like that, which is again right up my street because I love historical stuff. So anything Greek, anything Egyptian, anything Viking, sign me up. I will absolutely eat it up. So I really want to read A Fate Inked in Blood, and I also have A Curse Inked in Blood pre-ordered from Waterstones because I was gifted through Fairy Mail A Fate Inked in Blood by a friend of mine called Lauren, and I then haven't even read A Fate Inked in Blood, and I've pre-ordered A Curse Inked in Blood because I thought, you know what, it's got Vikings in it, I know I'm going to love it, and it's got so many good reviews that I thought, how can I not love it? Yeah, those were my 25 books. I know technically it's more than 25 because every single one of those pretty much was in a series, but I didn't want to put the whole series in there because that kind of felt like cheating. And I don't know if I'm going to like the first book in all these series. Like, if for example, let me just grab the first one that's in front of me, if I don't like this one, I don't think I'd carry it on. Whereas with like the Sarah J Maas one, I feel like it'd be a shame not to carry it on, even if I didn't like it, because I've read the rest of her books and I've loved them, so I'm sure I will like it. Well, I've not read all of Throne of Glass yet. I'm currently reading that, but I'm loving it. But with something like this, I'm sure I will like it. It's nothing against this book, it's just right in front of me. But with something like this, I've not actually read any of this author's work, so I don't know if I'm going to like it, and I'm not going to put myself through thick books like that if I didn't even like the first one. That's a lot of books, I appreciate. My goal this year is only 50, but we'll see what we can do. Got a Disney holiday this year, got a wedding, oh my god, to plan and to partake in, obviously. So, got a lot going on. So hopefully I'll hit 50 books because I love to read. It is a goal, but it's not a pressure goal, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not putting pressure on myself to, oh my god, you have to read those 50 books. But I would like to. Like, I'd like to, because my problem is I want to read all the books all at once. I want to consume them all. I want to know the stories inside out. So I would like to have read all those books by the end of the year, but if I haven't, we've always got next year. We've got time, you know? There's all the time in the world. And yeah, as usual, sorry about my throat. I hope it wasn't too annoying, and if you've got this far, please leave a little love heart down below because that would mean so much to me. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.